All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Kakodash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word in truth and in sincerity across the four winds. In the name of Yahweh Bashem Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Shai. All right. And what I want to get into this morning, we're dealing with, the throne of David forever. Okay. And when you go into the scriptures, the Lord always intended, all right, for that throne, okay, of David, which represents, the tribes united, okay, the will of the Lord going forth in the earth, okay, the righteousness of the scriptures being the government, all right, of the planet Earth, man, okay. It represented, the subjection of the heathen being in full subjection to the nation of Israel, as Israel is in full subjection to the Most High. Okay, so that throne, it represents a lot. Okay, and that's the throne that's going to be established at the return of Yahweh Shai. He's coming to continue that throne of David. The era of King David and King Solomon, which was our golden age as a people. Okay, and that's when we was in good standings with our power and we was blessed. Okay, and we had dominion over the heathen and righteousness, man. Okay, well, it's coming back and it's going to be established forever this time, man. We've seen the prelude of it. Now we're finna get, the full thing. We're finna fully come into that blessing because Esau, because you go back to the the blessings of Jacob and Esau. All right, Esau, he fully came into his blessing during the time of the Renaissance. Okay, he got a glimpse of his blessing during the time of the Greeks and the Romans. Okay, but he fully came into that blessing given to him by Isaac during the Renaissance. Okay, and we, as the prophecy say, how the hand of Jacob held Esau's heel. Okay, our kingdom will be birthed at the end of his kingdom because his heel, his feet represents the end of his kingdom. Okay, and you notice that after Jacob, it was nothing else. Okay, he came out and that was it because Jacob is going to be the last, all right, rulership. Okay, the rulership of Jacob, the rulership of Israel, headed by Yahweh Shai. Okay, who's going to establish the throne of David? That's why the Lord had him come through the lineage of the throne of David, man. Okay, so when you go to the book of Psalms 89 and 3, it says, I have made a covenant with my chosen. I have sworn unto David my servant, thy seed will I establish forever and build up thy throne to all generations. Okay, so who was that seed? That seed was Yahweh Shai. Okay, real quick, Psalms 89 and 3 and 4 in the NLT. The Lord said, I have made a covenant or a promise with David, my chosen servant. I have sworn this oath to him. So there was an oath that he swore to David. 1 Samuel, the 7th chapter. Okay, he swore an oath that David would always have a seed to sit his throne and that he was going to establish his throne forever. Okay, and that didn't happen under King Solomon. That was temporal. That wasn't a fulfillment of that. The fulfillment of their promises is going to be through Yahweh Shai. Okay? It says, I will establish your descendants as kings forever. You see, I will establish your descendants as kings forever. Okay? Let you know, hey, going back to Jacob, that lineage of Jacob, man. Okay? Because through that lineage, the Lord promised Jacob that kings shall come from his loins. Okay? And you go into those first fruits, man, those are all kings from all tribes, different tribes, man. But it all spiritually is the house of David. You see? That dynasty, that ruling dynasty of Israel. Okay? Verse 4 again, it says, I will establish your descendants as kings forever. They will sit on your throne from now until eternity. Okay? Forever, man. That's we're the only nation that's promised to rule forever. No other nation had that. These other nations was prophesied to have a rulership, but then it goes into their downfall. How this next nation will take them down, and it will be this. It will be this times. It will be this nation's time to rule. The next nation will come, and it will be this nation's time to rule. When it comes to Israel, it's everlasting, it's forever. Okay, and this is a promise. You see. And it goes all the way back, even in Genesis, way before David. Okay? You go to Genesis 49. Okay? It's always, everything was a build up to Yahushua. You know, it was a build up to his first coming, and now it's a build up to the second coming, the grand finale. Okay? Genesis 49 and 10 it said, the scepter shall not depart from Judah. Okay? That scepter represents a king, a ruler, okay? Nor a lawgiver, a priest, all right? Melchizedek, that spirit, which we know Yahushua, that was Melchizedek, all right? Malak Tazadak, all right? King of righteousness, man. And he was known as what? The high priest of the Most High. Okay, so Yahushua is the king and the high priest, okay? That's coming back to establish a rulership for his people in righteousness, man. Okay? It says, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh come, Yahushua. And unto him shall the gathering of the people be. So unto him shall be the gathering of the people. And right now we're being gathered by this word. Okay? Because even you go to the throne of David, all Israel gathered around the throne of David. Okay? Submitted themselves unto King David. Well, now we're gathering around Yahushua through his word and submitting ourselves to Yahushua. Okay, but you go into the history real quick. You go to 2 Samuel chapter 5. All right, and this is you know, the end of the feud between the house of David and the house of Saul. All right, 2 Samuel 5 and 1. Then all the tribes of Israel went to David at Hebron and told him, we are your own flesh and blood. Okay? Or bone of thy bone, flesh of thy flesh. Which means, well, we're your kinsmen. Okay? And we're in agreement. You see? And it says, in past, when Saul was our king, you were the one who really led the forces of Israel. And the Lord told you, you should be shepherd of my people Israel. You will be Israel's leader. So that at Hebron, King David made a covenant before the Lord with all the elders of Israel, and they anointed him king, all right, of Israel. So all the tribes gathered to the throne of David. Okay, now Yahushua, he's coming to sit that throne forever. Okay, and all the tribes are being gathered. And this time the elect, all the tribes of the elect are gathering to Yahushua before he returns. You know, and when he returns, he's going to gather us to himself. You see? So this is what's getting ready to be established in the earth. The Lord's going to establish the throne of David forever, man. You see, and that's not talked about, man. It's something Christians, you know, this world doesn't talk about. Even when you go into, they speak about this war, you know, and people talking about, well, we in a new phase, we in a new world, it's a new era, but they don't understand the new era is the throne of David that's coming. You see? If they think, you know, China and Yuan and, you know, Russia and all these nations are finna win in some type of new world order. No, man. Yahushua is finna come establish the throne of David. All the nations of the earth is getting ready to lose. The throne of David is finna be established, man. Okay? That's what this thing is building up to. That's what the Lord is causing this war. All right, so his son can be established, man. You know, it's the Lord that's, as scriptures say, he's determined to gather nations to pour out his indignation, man. You know, he's going to pour out that indignation through Yahushua. You see? Matter of fact, real quick, let's get there. We always get it. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 11, and verse 14. Okay, this is Revelation chapter 11, verse 14. It said, the second woe was past, and behold, the third woe coming quickly. The third woe, the third war. Okay, so we're in the midst of it, and it's escalating quickly, man. Okay, every day, there's news. Hour on the hour, there's news about, developments and escalation dealing with this war. Okay, verse 15. And the seventh angel sounded, and there were great voices in heaven saying, the kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his anointed, and he shall reign forever and ever, the everlasting kingdom. And it's only promised to Israel. Okay? So this third world war is going to be the transfer of rulership from the heathens, beginning with Esau, to Yahushua. Okay? And his people, his remnant, his elect, beginning with those first fruit, that governing body. Okay, so this war is to transfer rulership unto Israel, man. What Esau think that this war is going to do, it's not going to benefit him, man. This is going to be disastrous for this devil. Okay, this is leading to the end of his rulership completely. Okay, and the beginning of the rulership of Yahushua, man, which is the throne of David being established, man. Okay, so you go here to the book of Isaiah chapter 9. It's the book of Isaiah chapter 9 and verse 6. Okay, and 7. It said, for unto us a child is born. Okay, and that's Yahushua. He was born what? Through the lineage of Judah, through the lineage of King David, to fulfill that promise made to King David, that he will always have a seed to sit his throne, and that's Yahushua. Okay, which Yahushua is what? He's immortal. We're all going to be immortal, man. But Yahushua, he's immortal, man. So he's going to sit that throne forever. Okay? And it says, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty Power, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace, which these are all titles. Okay? And it says, of the increase of his government and peace there shall be no end. See, there's no end to this government. All these other governments, it was prophesied that they will have a beginning and an end. But with this one, there's no end. Okay? And it says, upon the throne of David, you see that? And upon his kingdom to order it and to establish it with judgment and with justice from henceforth, even forever. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this, man. So the Lord is getting ready to perform this, and this is why he has all this prophecy happening, okay, at one time. These final prophecies that have to happen before the return of Yahushua, well, they're all in motion, okay? The collapse of the economy, okay, the devil attempting, to establish his new world order, which is going to be involved, which is going to include an MOTB mandate, Jacob's trouble in the midst of all this. Famines are going to increase. The war is already going. Okay, it's going to eventually escalate to a nuclear war after the devil, makes the MOTB mandatory. So the Lord has all these things happening at the same time. Okay, it's all building up at the same time because the Lord is wrapping this thing up. All right, because he's getting ready to establish, all right, a righteous government in the earth, man, which is the throne of David. All right, headed by Yahushua. Okay, so Lord will, all right, you brothers, all right, and you few sisters were edified once again. Want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Kakadash, and double honors to the apostles and the elders, GMS, who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers, and peace and blessing salutations to the hopeful elect. Shalom.